Okay, so we're going to go with part two. I ended the last one about the Articles of Confederation, and there is some weaknesses there. We're going to do an activity in class with that tomorrow, so I'm not going to go over that with you right now. So I'm skipping that section. Just realize the Articles of Confederation was Rudy Poo Poo, and so just put it this way: it was completed, it was ratified, which means it was accepted in 1781. In like less than 7 years later, we are having, in 1787, 6 years later, we are having a meeting to overthrow that government. So that's how horrible it was. So let's take a look at who was there. The Constitutional Convention met in 1787 in Philadelphia, and there's 55 delegates. The delegates are the well-bred, fed, read, and wed. We know them in a different name. Think about what we talked about on Friday, and it starts with an E. I'm going to try to let you figure that part out, and if you are curious if you got that right, talk to me tomorrow. But think about what this is saying. Who would these people be politically and socially? James Madison is going to be the father of the Constitution, and George Washington is going to be the convention president. Remember, he's a war hero at this point because we won the American Revolution. He was a big part of it. I'm going to actually exit out of this, and I'm going to go to my notes for you. At the Constitutional Convention, these are some of the areas of agreements right here, okay? These are the areas of agreement. And so you can write these down just like how this is. And so let's really focus on the areas of agreement. The first one, and very important, what they're going to decide here at the convention, right here, remember, that's what we're looking at, is at the convention. I'll try to make this a split screen, best of my ability. Boom. And so what they're going to look at is they're going to try to scrap the Articles of Confederation, and they want to establish a better form of this, but a Republican government. Alrighty, again, very important. A Republican, think of a representation, a government that has that representation. That's what we're looking at with that one. People vote for representatives in government. So that's what I mean by a Republican government. The third thing is we need to establish a constitutional government. What does that mean, establish a constitutional government? Just a government that's document-based, and there's something to go back to when there's an issue, when there's a conflict. There needs to be a document, a strong document that can resolve conflict. And so that's what the Constitution does, and it also outlines how our government should be. So very important. The fourth one is establish a balanced government where no single interest is dominated. And right here, next to this, in number 4, put down separation of powers. Again, you got to keep different parts of government separate from each other. So a balanced government means separation of powers. So not one is more important than the other. Think about what government we just broke free from, and we had a dictator or a monarchy or a king. So we don't want that anymore. The next one means suffrage for property owners only. What does that mean? Voting rights for property owners only. The question I have for you is why? Why only property owners? Why only give voting rights to property owners? Think about it. Why would you do that? I'm going to let you guys try to figure that out. Again, ask me about it tomorrow. But think about it. To ask your parents, why would you only give voting rights to people that own property? It's not that other people, do they deserve it? But just think about, why would you do that? So I'm going to move on to 6. A stronger central government rather than the Articles of Confederation. Central government means like a national government, a federal government for us. A stronger federal government than under the Articles of Confederation. Because in the Articles of Confederation, you had a stronger state government than federal government. 7, very important, protection of property rights. The main purpose of government. This is what they feel everything should be because of previous abuses under the king. And again, at this convention, the last one we said was keep the proceedings a secret. Shh. Why do we want to keep the proceedings a secret? What are these gentlemen doing? What are they doing to the government we have right now? And the government we have right now is the Articles of Confederation. What are they doing to it? They are overthrowing this. This is an act of treason. Just like the Declaration of Independence was. They could be killed. So we got to keep it a secret. We're not sure about everybody yet. So that's what we need to do. We need to keep it a secret. Okay? So those are the areas of agreement. I'm going to quickly talk to you about some of the areas of disagreement. This is where they were having issues and they had to come up with a compromise. First one was representation among the states. Very important. It's also on the PowerPoint slide right here. I'll do this first, show you the PowerPoint, and you can pause it. Large states favored this thing called the Virginia Plan, which means that the people, our elected officials, would be there based upon population. If you're a large state, you love this plan. Yay! If you're a small state, you hate it because it's based upon population. So you would have less representation in government. So you're anti-Virginia. You liked the New Jersey plan. Equal representation in government. Doesn't matter the size, equal representation in government. Large states love this because it gives them the same powers. Small states love this because it gives them the same power as the large states. Large states hate this because the small states have the same power as them. Is that fair? Depends on who you ask. Then you had, the Connecticut Compromise. This is when you have a bicameral legislature with a popular, that's easy for me to say, elected house. So you have a house, you have two, that's basically what it's saying is you have a two-house legislation. One's based upon population, that's the House of Representatives, and the other one's Senate based upon equal representation. And this at the time was elected by state legislators, but later be elected by us, 17th Amendment. So the Great Compromise gives us our Congress. We have two different houses, one based upon population, one based upon equal representation. Know that, know that, know that. On that representation part, you had, which is in black eye in American history, but you had what do we do with the slaves? You had that there. The southern states, the northern states wanted slaves to count for taxation but not representation. And you can understand why. They don't want, if you have the slaves count as representation, that means you're going to get more people from the South in government. And they're saying, wait a minute, no, you shouldn't have that. Because unfortunately, slaves are not seen as people, but they're property. And so the northern states, they wanted to be taxed, but not have the slaves count for representation in government. The southern states wanted the complete opposite. Give us them as representation and don't count them for taxation purposes. What's the compromise? It's the 3/5 compromise. And it says 3/5 of the slaves would count for both purposes. 3/5 of the ratio would yield equal representation among northern and southern states, and yet that also went into the equation for taxation. And then the next one's about the election of the president. Some wanted a life term versus an annual election, which means annual every year. The compromise was a 4-year term. How are we going to elect this? Some wanted Congress, some wanted state legislatures, others wanted a direct election, which means the people. What do we get? The Electoral College. That is one thing I will talk to you about in class, so I kind of want to make sure you guys understand that. Ask your parents, what's the Electoral College? It is not an easy concept to talk about. That's what elects the president, not the popular vote. You don't believe me, go look up the 2000 election with Gore and Bush. What happened there? Gore won the popular vote, Bush won the Electoral College. Why did they do that? Because if you think about it, the forefathers didn't trust us. They thought all of us would be distracted by shiny objects, therefore we cannot be trusted to vote on such a high office like the president. Are they true? Are they correct, I should say? Is that statement true? You tell me. The sad thing is the majority of the population is what's called a mindless voter. They just vote. They don't even pay attention. And I get it. They're busy and they don't have as much of a love for government that you and I do. And so they're not going to be informed. So they're right sometimes, about some people that vote. But that's just the way it is. Okay, I am now going to switch back to this, and so we're going to quickly go over some of the things that are here. This is what we just talked about. So what I would like for you to do, if you had you couldn't read that or you wanted more time, I'm going to put this on here. Pause this, and then write this down, okay? Just realize what they gave us, and the next slide is going to be dealing with the slavery issue. Again, this is the Electoral College. You can read that. We'll go over this. We have that map in class. And so we'll go there. Okay, then you're going to have this thing called with the Federalists and Anti-Federalists. Those who, as the Constitution was written, then once it's written, it has to be approved, it has to be ratified by 9 of the 13 states. Good luck with that, because that's a challenge. That's called a supermajority rather than a simple majority. So you're going to have two sides going out there debating whether or not we should accept the Constitution. The Federalists, they are pro-Constitution, and the Anti-Federalists are anti-Constitution. And so here is a little bit about what they want. The Anti-Federalists, they think the national government is too powerful. It favors state rights rather than that. There is no Bill of Rights, and the Bill of Rights would guarantee what individual rights for you and me. The Anti-Federalists are worried that the Constitution doesn't give rights for individuals to be themselves, to express themselves, that the government would abuse that and take individual rights away. I mean, our government's never done that, right? And then you have the Federalist Papers, which were in support of the Constitution, 85 essays, very awesome. We're going to read 10 and 51. They favored a strong central government, believed in separation of powers. You have Federalist Papers 10 and 51. Men are angels, no government would be necessary. That's what Madison was writing about. We'll learn a little bit more about what these are. And it was ratified by 913 states in 1788. What was ratified? The Constitution. We will stop here for this one, so go ahead. I'm just going to hit escape and